This is a matchup that's relatively new to Modern. The Bant Snowblade deck. We saw this one. It's been popping up on Magic Online for a little while. Harlan Fear was on a winning team with this. We saw some of this at the Players' Championship as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that, for me at least, the Players' Championship was where I really started to pay attention to this archetype. It put up reasonable results, but overall, I did not think it was that good. But Drake Sasser really putting on a show this weekend.
Like, I have incredible bias against this deck because I don't think it can buy a game against Prowess. But it can definitely hang more with these other decks.
So you're telling me that the Noble Hierarch deck is pretty bad?
Creatures that die to Lava Dart are bad against Lava Dart.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
the Spell Queller deck is pretty bad against the Lightning Bolt deck, you're telling me?
Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Can you believe it? You can only get this professional commentary here.
Look, the only card in Drake Sasser's deck that has any game against Prowess is Oko Thief of Crowns. Everything else just gets dumped on.
Right. Sasser was on the play, fetched up a breeding pool to 17 for a Noble Hierarch. Quite a bit better against Amulet Titan. That one's going to stick around.
Who will win, Noble Hierarch or one snaky boy? 2 mana accelerators here from both players, but
yeah, Dilks had the Tribe Scout.
I think I would actually prefer the Tribe Scout in this spot, but a turn 2 Oko here is no slouch. Sasser here can actually just poof the Secure Tribe Scout to turn off that powerful ramping ability, and I would not be surprised to see that happen right now.
Yeah, that is the play.
It's going to be hard for Dilks to actually chop down the Oko next turn. It only attacks for 3. Doesn't have any real haste creatures or pump action or anything like that next turn. So Oko relatively safe for untapping, and that mana ramping is just completely constricted now for Dilks.
And we'll see what Dilks can do about it. This card, this Oko Thief of Crowns.
It's quite good.
Have you seen this card before? Have you heard about this? This is actually one of the reasons I believe that many of the Amulet players have moved off of the deck. You know, some of it is just that the Urza decks are just busted and you should just play them. But I've heard complaints about getting your Amulet elked.
Yeah, so I had very little Modern experience going into the SCGKN Winter Invitational last year. I ended up playing the Oko Urza deck with Karn the Great Crater in it. The Lotus Box guys brewed up on their Patreon. And the thing I found was that Oko was just exceptional against the archetype, because not only can you elk their mana creatures, you can elk their Amulet of Vigors, and you can even elk Primeval Titan, and you know, as long as you can beat the one hit of the getting the lands, turning the Primeval Titan to an elk is pretty powerful.
Dilks advanced the mana a little bit with an Explorer. Sasser added a Birds of Paradise and a food token to his battlefield, as well as a Misty Rainforest. Dilks will attack the Oko again, Oko to 1. Now we see a Sousa for Dilks. And Sasser's going to fetch in response, this one getting quelled.
Yeah, Spell Queller here is an exceptional hit for Sasser, being able to knock off that Azusa, one of the better targets for the Spell Queller. Dilks' deck also just doesn't have traditional removal spells, so it's going to be very difficult for him to get that Azusa back. So Spell Queller effectively, Mystic Snake for 3 mana. Pretty powerful effect.
Sasser to 15 off the fetch. But the acceleration has been well contained. Now it's a question of finding a way to cross the finish line before things get worse.
Now Sasser here can cross the finish line pretty quickly. Oko does generate a lot of power in a hurry. 5 damage coming across here. This is going to send Dilks to 15 and put him on a real clock. Now, Sasser also has the ability to chump block the elk if he so chooses, but I believe he's got Batterskull at the ready to put up a nice 4/4 blocker here to contain that 3/3 elk on the other side and keep that Oko nice and tight.
Batterskull showing up here, like you said, making a germ. Want to be careful not to elk that germ.
What happens if you elk the germ? This came up earlier, I heard.
It becomes a 7/7, right? So it maintains the power and toughness modification, but loses the keyword abilities.
Okay, even though the Batterskull is a separate entity that gives it those abilities?
Layers, my friend.
That is stupid.
It's actually very smart, but it comes out looking stupid in complex situations.
Right. Classic.
Like most things.
Classic Magic the Gathering right there. Just literally all aspects. That's the perfect descriptor for Magic.
Right.
It looks really dumb, but it's actually really smart.
You might throw me in the trash can. You might steal my lunch money. But
I'm going to be valedictorian, you son of a gun.
Here's Primeval Titan for Dilks coming off that Castle Garenbrig.
That's a hot one.
Field of the Dead, Talaria West. That looks like 7 unique lands from here.
Seems like. And again, we're seeing the power of Field of the Dead in these Primeval Titan decks. Even though the Amulet Titan deck before Field of the Dead had the ability to just combo kill you pretty easily thanks to Amulet of Vigor and giving the Primeval Titan haste. When you don't have Amulet of Vigor or your opponents just come prepared to destroy Amulet of Vigor, you need to win the game in a fair way. And Field of the Dead gives this deck that angle of attack in spades.
All right, going back to Sasser now facing down. Elk with a couple zombie friends and that 6/6 Primeval Titan.
Yeah, Sasser could just move the Batterskull onto the Spell Queller, though, and start crunching in the air for 6. Can also Elkify the Primeval Titan if he so chooses.
Yeah, that combination doesn't seem bad. You definitely want to minimize the zombie output from Dilks. That means mitigating the Primeval Titan mostly.
All right. If I Elkify the Germ, move the Batterskull, and then move the Batterskull back, does it regain the abilities?
Yes.
That's stupid.
It's not stupid.
That's that's dumb.
You're stupid.
I agree. Me and Magic share many things in common.
This is an issue, you know. I don't want to dog on you too much.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate that.
But I'm going to.
Right.
When you encounter something you don't understand, and your reaction is to say, that's stupid,
Yeah.
instead of, I don't understand. And I'm too stupid to explain it properly. So
Exactly.
That's on me.
Right.
But these are very important rules for maintaining the game broadly, and not understanding them doesn't make them stupid.
Here's an idea. Don't make cards that break the rules. That's a novel idea.
They're not breaking the rules.
Well, okay. Change the rules. Then stop make the rules make sense is all I want, right? I just want
that's impossible. That ask is impossible. They clean them up constantly, but the game has too much going on as a baseline.
So it's gone on too long.
Yo, people are confused by damage on the stack, and you're telling me
no one's confused by damage on the stack because it doesn't exist anymore. It's gone. They took it out of the game,
right? But
because it didn't make any sense.
No, but the stack is the entire rules engine for the entire game, right?
Oh,
and people can't follow that in combat, and you want to tell me that you can make the game easy. It's impossible. The game's never going to be easy. We can make it a little bit cleaner all the time, but the layers rules are important to maintain the game.
I just want an FAQ for every single card, right? And I just want them to say, okay, this works like this. And if someone's like, well, that is contradictory to this other thing, I want the judge that decided that to tell them to shut up. And that this is how it works.
There's no contradictions.
Okay.
It's not a contradiction at all. These things all work consistently.
No, I'm saying that they should make them work the way that they seem like they should work. They should do the logical. Okay.
The way
let's just talk about the game.
Let's just talk about the game. Is a subjective metric. You don't like it is the statement. You can say you don't like it.
I don't like it.
But it's not stupid. Okay. You're stupid.
Thanks.
Yes.
For that. Okay.
Right.
All right.
So the Batterskull is on the Spell Queller. Dilks is at 8, Sasser's at 23.
Am I being attacked right now? I think so.
I'm always on the attack. Just like Craig Krempels, I'm always on the attack.
He's over there attacking the heck out of that salad. How's lunch, buddy? He's not paying attention. Oh, well.
Here is an amulet for Matthew Dilks. Saw that Titan get Path to Exiled. Sasser actually did Elkify the Germ. But wisely moved the Batterskull, you see, because the layer
I get
rules
it. No, I get it.
You want to equip it to a different creature.
Leave me alone. We're not friends anymore. I'm not going to respond to any. I'm just going to talk about the game. Primeval Titan here from Dilks. That's a big deal.
Summoner's Pact for it.
And he's going to have to pay for that next turn.
Yeah, you got to pay for that.
But he is able to go get some stuff right now.
Yeah, it does have the amulet.
Yeah, can give that Primeval Titan +2/+0 haste and let it attack again. It will likely get eaten up in combat, but there's a small price to pay to get Primeval Titan off the battlefield, as well as getting 4 lands from Dilks. I think both players will be okay with that trade.
Boros Garrison, the Slayer's Stronghold. Not terribly surprising there. Those are going to untap. I think we got some more zombies on the way. How is Matthew Dilks going to deal 23 damage before he takes 8? That's what he's got to figure out.
He's got to probably deal more than 23 damage just because of the lifelink from the Batter Skull equipped to the creature, giving it lifelink, a separate ability from a separate card attached to the card.
That is the text of the card.
God, I'm so mad. I'm so mad it works like that.
I couldn't tell.
This is Crystal Slipper all over again.
I love Crystal Slipper.
I know you do.
Because
you don't like storytelling. You don't like good storytelling. You like practicality.
A good story is practical.
That is untrue. A good story makes you feel things.
Oh.
And we all know you don't like to feel stuff.
What is that like?
I don't know.
I guess I've never heard a good story.
Yeah, that's probably true. You're from Minnesota?
I mean, stories brought... hey, hold on. Hold on.
Well, you got Johnny Appleseed up there.
You can dog on me all you want.
Paul
Bunyan, ever heard of him?
Have. Yeah, he skated around with butter on his feet. Or fat back on his feet on a skillet. How does that even work? That's not logical, Ryan.
No, it's very logical. He's very tall.
Oh, no, see, they constructed the rules within the universe that justified a giant cast iron skillet where he skated on them with his fat back feet.
The weird one you would hear is that lakes were created from Paul Bunyan taking giant steps.
Yeah.
But, he would just obliterate the entire Earth.
Here we go. Primeval Titan coming in here for Dilks. It's going to be attacking the Oko Thief of Crowns. Surges up a couple more lands. Those untap. Bounce land trigger on the stack with the Talaria West. Oko can transmute that to go get Pact of Negation, another Summoner's Pact. I don't know. He knows. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on. We're over here talking about Paul Bunyan.
True
that.
Paul Bunyan almost as tall as Primeval Titan, fun fact. But yeah, Dilks got to go for this Oko here. He wants to find a way. He would love to maintain the Primeval Titan. That's not going to happen, though. These Elks getting in the way.
How big do you think Paul Bunyan would be if he was a Magic card?
Creature stats?
Yeah.
He's probably Croson Cloudscaper's like a 13/13. That's a mutant. So, not quite that. But like a Croson Colossus, like a 9/9 or a 10/10.
No. You really think he's just larger and in charger than Primeval Titan? Primeval Titan's literally crunching through trees and stuff.
Well, he wouldn't have a text box. It was just 10/10, no abilities.
I mean, I'm pretty sure you'd have to have him make some food, right? Right?
No, he would have to
ETB.
Food. ETB has to eat all your food.
Oh, yeah. ETB, eat all your food and create a blue ox.
All right. Now we're talking. What if we just reskinned Urza as Paul Bunyan?
Gas. That would make me like the card more.
Yeah, same. So we got some more zombies for Dilks. He's going to go exploring. Radiant Fountain puts him back to 10. Titan traded with some Elks. Oko's now at 1 loyalty.
This is the same turn, isn't it? This is just so much.
You might think that we've been talking for hours, but in fact...
We have.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we have actually been talking for a long time.
Actually, days. Wooded Foothills, a couple more zombies. Zombie count at 9.
Dilks is being rather deliberate here in this turn, but it's also just an outrageously complex turn because he's tutored through his deck multiple times, had a ton of micro interactions happen, and still has effectively a tutor left to play.
And there it is, Talaria West transmuted.
This deck is just... Watching Dilks play fast, right now he's playing about the speed that most people play. And I think that that's because this is just a really tough spot. And he just wants to make sure that he can leverage every advantage and try to eke out the victory in a spot where he's not that likely to win, I don't think. So, in order to do that, playing a little bit more slowly, but I think that's okay. And I think that just... I was going to say that it's just impressive when he plays fast. Is what I really wanted to get at. Last week, we watched him play a lot on camera, and he just was...
Cruising.
Lightning.
He's got about 1 billion reps.
Yeah.
Matthew Dilks would be a good tall tale figure.
Yeah, he doesn't talk much, and he just smushes everybody. Did you already tell the quote from last week?
Yeah, it's a nice one. Who was it looking at the? It was Corey, right? Corey's playing against Dilks.
Yeah, Corey Baumeister is just like, oh, cool. So are you? So it looks like
he's looking at deck list in the top four. And he said, "Oh, this looks pretty stock." And Dilks says, "I'm the reason it's stock."
No, that's not what he said. It's close.
All right, hit me.
All right, Corey's just like, oh, so this is pretty stock. Dilks freezes, looks at him with that dead man's glare, and says, "I make the stock."
I am the one who stocks.
And that's how you tell a story, Ryan. That's how you tell a story.
Hit me with some Alabama tall tales. What are the legends of Alabama, Todd?
I don't know, dude. I tried to get out of that place as quick as possible, to be honest. We had Paul Bunyan, too. We had Johnny Apple. We had all that same stuff, just the wild frontier of the United States of America, you know. There was no, like, Alabama boogeyman. We had that YouTube video about the leprechaun. I don't know if you remember that.
I have no idea what you
Everybody
just said.
see leprechaun say, yeah. About to get a backhoe, uproot this tree, and get the gold.
Oko is going to alkify the Graph Digger's Cage. Spell Queller rumbles across. Dilks to 3, Sasser to 30. I don't think you can, like, nothing on YouTube is a tall tale, all right? That tall tales are spread by word of mouth. John Henry, tall tale.
All right.
Hammering against the machines.
John Henry Irons. Did you know that the character Steel from the Marvel Universe is based off of John Henry?
I did know that.
Movie with Shaquille O'Neal back in the mid-'90s.
It was a simpler time.
Yeah, better time. All right, attack with that giant spell queller. Chunks Matthew Dilks down to 3 life. Sends Drake up to 30. Elk and the amulet means that another Primeval Titan here won't be able to have... Oh, no, we'll have haste, actually. I don't really know.
Yeah, Stronghold's still sticking around.
Interesting. Curiouser and curiouser. It does limit a bit of mana generation. It also makes it so Dilks can't necessarily generate a billion mana with that Primeval Titan. Bounce another Talaria West, transmute it for Engineer Explosives, and blow up all the blockers.
Right, and I'll do you one. I'm not going to say. I was going to say I'll do you one better. It's not what I'm doing.
Okay.
Just to expand on your point. Amulet of Vigor really complicates the battlefield. There are way more things Dilks can do with that effect than he can do without. Sasser pretty cleanly just flies in with a Spell Queller.
Yep. And
Elk does not open any avenues for Dilks.
Agreed. Now, Summoner's Pact for Primeval Titan, completely different story, especially with Boros Garrison and the Slayer Stronghold online. Dilks trying to figure out a line that actually gets him out of this. I honestly don't think there is one. Now, if he had something like Slaughter Pact in his deck that he could give run for the money on that Spell Queller, but he doesn't.
Right.
He's just facing off a giant flyer and doesn't have a real removal spell to deal with it.
There is an Engineered Explosives in the deck.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, the knocking off the amulet made it so Engineer Explosives basically off the table because it would require way too much mana to tutor, transmute, cast, and pop.
Right, especially after paying for that Summoner's Pact.
Right.
So there is Primeval Titan. Dilk's going to see what he can do. It's like Vesuva and Selesnya Sanctuary.
Well, this is actually interesting. I was going to say you could copy Radiant Fountain with the Vesuva, go up to 5, bounce the Vesuva, maybe finds a way to play a couple more lands via Azusa, Lost with Seeking.
I believe he bounced the Radiant Fountain proper.
Okay. And I don't think he's played... Oh, that should do it right there. Dilks, I did not think was expecting another Path to Exile. I think that's going to completely blow up his plans. He can replay the Radiant Fountain. Only goes up to 7, but that Spell Queller is going to be attacking over for 7 things to that Noble Hierarch.
Goes to haste up the Titan, gets caught by Path to Exile, and there go his cards. Drake Sasser going to be up a game over Matthew Dilks.
And you're seeing really the strength of Sasser's deck. Has a small amount of interaction, but really, the Oko early, the Spell Queller on the card, as well as a way to give it a big boost taking down what seemed like an outrageous draw from Dilks pretty handily.
Players go into sideboard here for Matthew Dilks. 3 Dismember, 3 Mystical Dispute, 2 Beast Within, a Tectonic Edge, another Radiant Fountain, another Engineered Explosives, another Field of the Dead, Reclamation Sage, Remnant Excavator, and Tireless Tracker.
So I think he does want to get a bit more interactive here. I like the Dismember. I like the Mystical Disputes a little bit, although Sasser's list is not that heavy on the blue stuff. It does have Spell Queller, a little bit of other counter magic, but mostly it's a one-mana way to deal with the Planeswalkers. I think that is worthwhile. I don't love Beast Within, but if it's not coming in here, I don't know what's coming in against. You know, I mean, maybe you just want it for the mirror so you can knock off the lands. That's about all I got. Engineering Explosives number 2 probably comes in. Field of the Dead number 2 probably comes in. Rex Sage, maybe as a tutor target for Summoner's Pact in some spots. If he had it there on a couple of instances, I think being able to blow up that Batterskull would have very easily won him that game. So he may be thinking about that, but he also probably has this matchup already locked down how he's going to sideboard, so I don't think that's going to color his decision one way or another, but he may also just have it in his radar as far as sideboarding strats are concerned.
Sure. On Drake Sasser's side, 3 Ashiok Dream Render, 2 Mystical Disputes, 2 Veil of Summer, 2 On Thin Ice, 2 Winds of Abandon, 2 Dismember, a Disdainful Stroke, and a Vendilion Click.
On Thin Ice was a card that I actually had a bit of success with in Modern before I started playing a boatload of Pioneer. I love the card. I don't think it necessarily comes in here because it is sorcery speed, which means it's not going to tag a Primeval Titan before it gains the value and maybe even hastily attacks. But at the same time, it's a cool card that we don't really get to see a lot of. Very reminiscent of Chain to the Rocks.
Sure. Yeah, you'd prefer to hit a Sakura Tribe Scout with that over a Path to Exile.
Right, for sure. And that may be an easy swap for him to make, you know, and maybe he just wants to do that. I think Ashiok Dream Render is the home run. That card does come in, shuts down Primeval Titan, shuts down Summoner's Pact, shuts down Talaria West as well. Just an excellent card for the matchup. It is the reason why it's in the sideboard. Other than that, Vendilion Click, maybe. Disdainful Stroke, definitely. That's about it.
Drake Sasser, been pretty dominant this weekend. Did pick up his first loss that last round, but he did win the first 11. 24-year-old from Madison, Alabama. Played 22 opens last year with 4 top 8s and a win. 2 wins lifetime.
Yeah, when I found out Drake was actually from Alabama, first off I said, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then I said, Roll Tide. And he said, Roll Tide back. And then we were friends. And that's how it works.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that it would be impossible to peg him as from Alabama.
That is true. He does not have a really thick Southern accent.
You roll in, you say, hi, I'm Todd. I'm from Alabama. And everyone said that makes sense, you know? But Drake Sasser just does not have the accent at all.
Look, I can ham it up. And I get my thick accent when I start hamming it.
Yeah.
For the most part, I think I'm fairly eloquent. It's hard to tell that I have an accent when I start talking like this, right?
I believe that you believe that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
no,
Mr. Overturf.
Accents are tough to dodge. You can't really ditch them, you know?
I mean, you say that, but...
I do.
You do. You did.
Yeah.
Those are words that came out of your mouth.
I will continue to say it.
All right.
I don't know. Maybe I just hear you ham it up a lot.
I do ham it up a lot.
I can't forget it.
Well, especially when I'm streaming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially when I'm doing commentary. And those are like the 2 places you see me the most.
True.
Or at the bar. Or at dinner.
Where you're probably hamming it up.
Where I'm also hamming it.
Yeah.
Maybe I just always ham it up.
Yeah.
Maybe I just always have my accent. Unless I'm thinking about it and I try not to. It's like Sasser's taking a mulligan here.
So we're still in January now, but it's going to be June before you know it. And that means it's going to be SCGCon time, and that means it's going to be Invitational time, and that means you're going to want to have already queued for the Invitational, and a great way to do that, perhaps at your local scene, is through a Star City Games Invitational Qualifier, where you can win your share of $1,000 in cash prizes at the top 8, get some SCG points, get this dope playmat, and exclusive tokens.
Yeah, this is a great starting point for a lot of players on the SCG Tour. I know that we've had multiple victors on the Invitational stage that came from the IQ circuit. even it's a great system. I've played quite a few of them. The prizes are awesome. If you want to find one near you, go to go.starsgames.com/IQ or petition your local store to pick up an IQ today.
I came up on the IQ circuit, my first invitational qualification from an IQ.
Nice.
I qualified for an invitational. This was back when they were standard and legacy, and when I qualified, mental misstep was legal. When the invitational happened, it was no longer legal.
That's a bummer. I was once told by Jared Silva that I had qualified for the same invitational. I believe it was 7 times. I'm not positive on that number, but I believe it was 7 times. You'd have to ask him. I had a really good year in like 2012. Those are good old days. Maybe I am a boomer.
So, was there a point to you qualifying 7 times, or?
Just braggart. Just being a braggart.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were telling me about storytelling.
What? That's a good story. That's funny.
I think Sasser on a mold of 4 here. Things might be a bit easier for Dilks this go around as we are underway. Sasser kept on forward. Tlario West is where Dilks will start. Sasser on a windswept heath into Birds of Paradise. It's going to be 17 for a breeding pool.
I cannot wait for a turn 2 Oko to just win the game by itself. I cannot wait. Mulligan to 4, turn 2 Oko, win the game very easily, thanks.
That'd be something. I mean, I've seen it.
Whoa. Dilks forgot to tap his green mana to cast his green spell. What's the deal, Ryan?
Well, once upon a time, there's a very flavorful mechanic where if it's the first spell you cast in a game, it costs 0 mana.
What?
Sousa Lost But Seeking picked up off of Once Upon a Time.
I'm sorry, it's just wild to me.
Feels
free
like
spells? Free?
In 2020, we still have free spells?
I just imagine little Timmy holding out his hands, being like, please, sir, may I have a free spell?
But you never hammed it up. But you never hammed it up.
You know who didn't have much ham? Tiny Tim.
Jeez. That is...
That's because it was goose. Goose in every pot.
Nice Christmas goose.
There it is, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's more wholesome. Turn 2 Vendilion Click from Drake Sasser.
I'm sorry.
We know about an Asusa in Dilk's hand, and now we know about a Mystical Dispute. Say goodbye to the Click.
Yeah, but this is going to keep Dilks from actually being able to cast the Azusa this turn, I think.
That is my understanding. Here's a Forest and a Sakura Tribe Scout. That one's not bad.
No, it's actually quite good because he didn't have much else to do with his mana this turn. I'm pretty sure he actually picked up the Tribe Scout for the draw step. So a pretty nice card to follow up here. Was able to use all 3 of his mana this turn with Dispute, Dismember, and Tribe Scout.
Dismember takes care of the bird, Dilks to 16, and Sasser is just going to follow up with a Sword of Feast and Famine. Sword plus lands, not the most impressive battlefield.
No, but he did mulligan 4, and he's just trying to figure out a way to cobble together a victory. So I'm not going to, hold it against him or anything.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you cast it, but then what?
I don't know. Find a creature?
Yeah. No, that's his plan.
Also, what in the hell is Sasser playing Vendilion Click for instead of Brazen Borrower? Have you cast Brazen Borrower?
Well, he wants to look at target player's hand and select up the 1 card to put on the bottom of that player's library.
Clearly.
And also block, I guess.
All right, Vesuva comes down, copies Simic Growth Chamber. Another land returned to hand, and Tribe Scout going to get in here instead of playing a land.
Yeah, well, Asusa's kind of got the land thing covered now. Sasser to 16 from the Beats.
It's a tie game, 16-16.
Yeah, everything's even.
I think there's a lot of occasions in Magic where players have a tied life total, and you really get to see the disparity in advantage. In different ways that aren't exactly tied to life totals, and it really showcases how little your life total actually means until it hits 0, you know?
Right. And I think a really hard lesson to learn is that I've played games where one player ends on 1 life, and I would not describe the game as close.
Oh, for sure, especially for decks that are great at using their own life total as a resource, not just for taking a couple attacks from the opponent or soaking a couple burn spells or stuff like that, but more so just having cards in their deck that literally spend life to gain an advantage. We saw that with Barich's Yawgmoth build, sacrificing life points to draw a bunch of cards and kill a bunch of creatures. And, you know, we see it in a number of other strategies as well.
You see Telaria West, that's going to go find Summoner's Pact. Had the green mana floating there, but Dilks has no plan for that just yet. Sasser going to play an island and pass. Now we see the Tribe Scout doing some work, puts in Breeding Pool.
Now Sasser could have some sort of flash creature here. I think Spell Queller would be ideal as a way to stop the Summoner's Pact, as well as give him a body for the Sword of Feast and Famine, but doesn't look like he has it. Might have something like Mana Leak, some way to stop this Primeval Titan, hopefully. Cross fingers.
Summoner's Pact, Primeval Titan.
That's a disdainful stroke. That's a hot one.
That works.
That takes a lot of the wind out of Dilks' sails. He spent a whole turn transmuting a Telaria West, and now he's spending a whole turn casting Summoner's Pact and Primeval Titan, and now next turn he's going to basically spend the whole turn paying for the Summoner's Pact.
Clowns are coming in. Sasser to 14.
I mean, you are right. Drake Sasser is in the feature match area. When you said the Clowns are coming in. Honk, honk.
I can go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I'm being reminded that I cannot go.
Under no circumstances do I have to give it to him.
Drake Sasser is going to make a food with that Oko.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for Dilks to chop it down. He has to pay for Summoner's Pact. He can only attack it for 2. That's going to allow next turn Sasser is going to turn that 3/3 elk into a creature.
Reclamation Sage, get out of there, sword.
Yep.
2 points at the Oko to 4.
Pretty great sideboard card here. That Reclamation Sage knocking off Sword of Feast and Famine. It's interesting, Drake mulligan to 4 this game, and yet somehow is still just very much in it. Even has the ability to play Jace the Mind Sculptor this turn, I think. Holy crap, we might have a real game on our hands.
Food becomes elk. Sasser passes turn.
Looks like his other card was Force of Negation, so maybe wanting to save the Jace for after he gets to hard cast the Force of Negation, because really doesn't have that many actual blue cards in his deck. You know, the blue count it's not low, but it's not high either.
Yeah, and we've seen Dilks look for Primeval Titan with Summoner's Pact before, leaving up the Force covers again, that being the only plan. And here you see Once Upon a Time, and Sasser's going to force that. Yeah,
I actually love this target from the Force of Negation hitting the Once Upon a Time, just because you need to use your mana. Unfortunately, though, Dilks does have Summoner's Pact on backup, and
Titan, Breeding Pool, chalk to 14, cast the Titan. Oko looking less threatening now.
This is that point in Mad Max Fury Road where he just points up and goes, that's bait.
1 p.m. Pioneer players.
Got him!
I haven't seen the...
Got him! Just get out of here, Drake!
Boros Garrison, Telaria West found. Telaria West picked up.
I don't think Field of Dead is quite turned on. That's one of the downsides of Field of Dead in this deck.
Got 2 Breeding Pools and a Vesuva copying one of your own lands.
Right. Now, Vesuva is technically its own land, but when it's copying something on the battlefield, it counts as the thing it is copying. So 2 copies of Simic Growth Chamber, 2 copies of Breeding Pool, 1 Boros Garrison, 1 Forest, 1 Field of Dead. Just short. Next turn, though, should be easy.
Over to Sasser. Elking that Titan. Still got some work to do. Here comes Jace the Mind Sculptor. Maybe he can help.
You know, they used to say Jason Mind Sculptor was greater than all. And I don't really think that anymore, you know?
Arguably the second best Planeswalker of all time.
I don't even think it is anymore.
Hit me with your number 2.
Chandra, Torch of Defiance.
All right, I strongly disagree that Chandra's as good as Jace.
That's fine.
All right, he's going to be a brainstorm from the Jace.
Further respect to formats. Jace broke Standard. That's fair. Chandra was outrageous when it was in Standard. Right now, all the formats where Jace is legal, I think it's actively bad.
Yeah, I mean, Jace is pretty vulnerable to Elk.
I mean, it's pretty vulnerable to creatures.
True. Creatures have gotten a lot better since Jace showed up.
Not to say Jace is bad. I think it's pretty good. I guess it's really just it's coloring my perception of the card simply because Oko is just so unbelievably better.
Yes. I mean, there was a time where it wasn't just Standard. You know, Jace was just nonsense and extended as well across a multitude of decks.
Yeah, it was also
Legacy.
Busted in Legacy. It was banned in Modern for 6 years or 7 years or whatever.
And someday, Oko will be banned in Modern for 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, 7 years from now, it will be banned in Modern for 7 years. That's true.
All right, so Jace
Sorry,
is down.
starting tomorrow. Starting tomorrow.
Right. Not today.
6 years, 364 days, and I don't know, 12 hours, whatever I don't know, whatever.
So you don't want to get down to the day because you got to do leap year math.
Oh, yeah, not doing that. Summoner's Pact here for another Primeval Titan, and Dilks doing that while the shields are down from Sasser, so he can't use Force Negation without having to pitch a card. Chandra, Torch of Defiance is just something that I've been playing with a lot lately. I know that it's not better than Jace in a vacuum, right? If you put both of them head-to-head, Jay's going to win like every time. But if you give me the old Planeswalker damage rules, Chandra's pretty damn good.
Oh, I'm not saying Chandra's bad.
Jace is just egregious. You're right. All right, let me actually think about it. Because I think there's arguments for Narset.
All right, so here's a hot take that you would not expect from me.
The tick-down Planeswalkers aren't Planeswalkers?
No.
They're enchantments?
No, it's
okay.
with regard to my ranking.
All right.
Literally everybody's best Planeswalker of all time list is disrespectful to Gideon Ally of Zendikar and Elspeth Knight Errant.
I agree with Gideon Ally of Zendikar, disagree on Knight Errant.
Those cards are very close.
I have had an Elspeth Knight Errant in my Legacy deck, top 8ing opens multiple times in 2 different archetypes. I have a great amount of respect for Elspeth Knight Errant, but I also think that if Gideon Ally of Zendikar just existed back then, it would have been in my deck 100% over Elspeth.
There's some weird meta considerations for the mirror, where Elspeth is really good at cutting down Gideon.
There's also, well, this was actually before True Name Nemesis, but even after True Name Nemesis, I think giving stuff flying also has a bit of utility to it as well.
So Sasser has a pretty good pickup here. It's Ashiok, Dreamrender. He's been able to contain Titans so far. You know, there is already that Field of the Dead on the table. We'll see how that ends up measuring up. His Oko has gone unchecked. It's lost some loyalty here and there. He's going to elk up his Birds of Paradise, though. His position for a Moldifor is looking really good.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to win the game. I think this Primeval Titan simply going to be too big. But it's going to require a lot of resources to get this Ashiok off the battlefield, and it might actually be impossible. If that's the case, it's just going to turn into another Elk. And he might actually end up winning the game on the Moldifor because of it. The combination of Ashiok plus Oko is very good at containing the card Primeval Titan in these archetypes.
Dilks pays for the Pact. Looking at a couple 1/1s, a 1/2, and an Elk. Let's check on this Field of the Dead. We have 1, 2, 3. Yeah, he's not quite there on even getting that. You know, it's going to take not just a bounce land Asuza, but also some other different land names to start making zombies.
Well, if he finds a bounce land, he can actually reset the Vesuva to copy something else, and he can copy a land from Drake. And I think that that's a big deal.
Sure. This could be another big pickup for Sasser, though. It's Stoneforge Mystic grabbing Batterskull.
So I take it back. I actually thought that Dilks was going to be able to take this game, but the more I examine the board state and think about how the next few turns are going to play, I actually think Drake has this almost completely locked up. I don't think Dilks' deck is. It is capable of getting out of this. It requires naturally drawing and injuring explosives to blow up all the 3-mana planeswalkers. So that's maybe what he's drawn toward. He found a Beast Within for the turn. What?
That one's going to be a big help.
What?
Ashiok down. Sasser does get a 3/3. Dilks needs a follow-up, but
he has Primeval Titan.
Biggest damper in the draw is gone.
He had Primeval Titan from the Summoner's Pack 2 turns ago, and it was stifled from the Ashiok, and now it's just completely unlocked. That's going to unlock Feel the Dead, and now I'm on the table.
Oh, wow. We're still using that beast?
Oh, come on.
That's like 8 years old.
It's 7 years old. It might actually be 8 years old. When was Grand Prix Miami?
I think there's been many Grand Prix Miamis.
Well,
the one that
mattered,
like,
where my token debuted. That's the one I want to know. It's either 2012 or 2013.
Titan's gonna go find a Rot Farm. We got some Boros Garrison Slayer Stronghold action going on the Titan. Attack with that 8-power Titan and that Elk coming at the Oko, trying to clear that one up too. Titan's gonna go a searching.
I'm getting confirmation, getting word from our own Nick Miller, Grand Prix Miami 2013. A quick Google search from any of you at home could solve this. However, I'm not allowed to use my phone while we're working.
It's a little 6 years and change.
Oh, no, it's 2020 now, man.
Yeah, and change.
No, you got to group them all together. You can't start saying 6 3/4 years. You sound like you're, in first grade. When I'm 6 2/4.
I don't know how you were so goofy yet take yourself so seriously.
I don't know. I don't know. Look, I have certain things that I care very much about, and there are other things that I don't care that much about.
Got some 3/3s. Blocking that 8-power Primeval Titan. Oko is going to take a bit of a hit, go down to 4 loyalty. The Titan's off the table. But there are 7 zombies now.
Yeah, I think, well, and more than that. And the Azusa with the bounce line is just going to let him make so many zombies the next few turns that I think that the game has swung ridiculously in Dilks' favor. Sasser has the Batter Skull. He has Path to Exile, I believe, that he drew for the turn. Or no, that's a different white card, is it?
So here's another consideration. Take a look at the round clock. Just over 7 minutes at this point in time.
Oh, I know. Dilks is going to win the game. It's going to be a draw.
See some Tribe Scout activations coming from 11 zombies. That number's going to grow. Sasser will concede. Seems interested in finishing the match.
Oh, for sure. Neither player, I think, wants to draw at this point. Actually, I think Sasser might take a draw at this point.
Yeah,
he's so high up.
He's pretty well ahead of the field for sure, but he's going to play deliberately, try to get that win, of course. Love to see that.
I gotta say, for a mulligan to 4, that draw and that game was awesome.
I mean, yeah, I would be confident going into Game 3 after a mull to 4 playing like that.
Yeah, I mean, you're really seeing the strength of the Oko Plus, where it actually poofs something into a 3/3 Elk. He was able to use it in Game 1 on Scar Tribe Scout, looked quite good. Did in Game 2 on a number of different creatures, including Primeval Titan. And I think if Dilks had not ripped a 4-outer, I think he had 2 explosives and 2 Beasts Within to be able to get the Ashiok off the battlefield. Without either of those cards, I think he loses that game every time.
Yeah, that Beast Within was huge.
I think he needed it right then, too.
I mean, yeah. The Oko was going to start enabling pretty good attacks for Sasser.
And the strength of the Todd Anderson Beast token unable to get the job done. Darn. Yeah. I'm hearing word that it did trade with a Primeval Titan, so,
Yeah, with half of a Titan, teamed up with an Elk.
Todd Titans go.
All right, both players mulling this time. We'll see how far that goes. The Bant Snowblade deck. Got a lot of interchangeable parts, different threats. Obviously, like the turn 2 Oko is the prize, but Even just having like Stoneforge Mystic is a really good start. You want a little bit of disruption, so a little bit more generic in what it's looking for, whereas the Amulet Titan deck is just trying to get to 6 mana and a Titan. Which of these decks do you think is favored by a double mulligan?
Probably Dilks, just because the 2-mana lands seem exceptional at undoing mulligans. Whenever I played the original Ravnica draft format, those bounce lands were always a huge factor in recouping lost card advantage from mulligans. It made mulligans effectively, irrelevant, because every land you played generated an extra card.
Okay, both players keeping on 6. We will have Sasser on the play. Windswept Heath, going to go find a source for Noble Hierarch.
Yeah, you're going to see both players picking up the pace significantly here, especially in the early turns, as they try to jockey for position, get a foothold in the game, and try to close the match before time runs out.
The find was Breeding Pool. Sasser's at 17. Dilks will play a Breeding Pool of his own. His is tapped, and now we see Sasser with that turn 2 Ashiok.
That's a heck of a play on turn 2. Let's see if Dilks has any answer to it. Can still ramp with things like Sakura Tribe Scout and Azusa. Those don't search through the deck, but his main form of advantage in Primeval Titan is currently invalid.
Field of the Dead go for Dilks. Now we see Sasser deploying a Stoneforge Mystic. We have not seen Sasser activate the Ashiok. Is there a certain point where you might want to start using that -1, or is keeping that on 5 mostly where he wants to be?
I think if your opponent has 4 cards left in their deck, that's when you want to minus.
That's the only point. You don't want to get attacked by Elks.
Yeah. I think mostly you just want to keep it healthy. There's very little incentive to try to snipe like one of the singleton lands or anything like that. If you hit like Slayer Stronghold, that can maybe change the game. But the -1 loyalty means that like a random creature from Dilks is that much closer to being able to take it down.
I suppose Slayer's Stronghold puts it in range of a lot of things.
Yep.
Sort of Feast and Famine, the find off of Stoneforge Mystic, and now we see Dilks deploy in a Souza. Golgari Rot Farm, Castle Garenbreg, Field of the Dead, and Breeding Pool, the lands for Dilks, as we go back to Sasser.
Yeah, of course, the Azusa allowing him to play 2 extra lands, so the Rot Farm comes down, bounces like Breeding Pool or whatever, and he replays it. Dilks does a lot of shortcutting with a lot of verbal communication. It may look a little awkward from the top down, but I can assure you he is following the letter of the law here.
No third land for Sasser, passing, leaving up that Stoneforge Mystic to put in the Sword of Feast and Famine.
Yep, but also has 3 mana, so he could potentially play something like Spellqueller here. But Dilks looking to go for a bit bigger than that, I believe.
If he's using the castle, this is 6 mana.
Dilks in the tank here, trying to figure out if there's a way to get through this Ashiok easily.
Primeval Titan, or Colossal Dreadmaw, as you might know it.
Yeah, the old 6 mana, 6/6 trample.
Oh, yeah.
The limited staple.
Rid Foothills. Couple cards that are not great against Ashiok.
You could even say Colossal Dreadmaw is a multi-format all-star.
Here's a Vesuva for Dilks.
It was a sad day for me when Crawworm was no longer playable and limited. Oh well.
Pour one out for Crawworm.
No.
Plains. Copied by Vesuva.
That matters a lot if Field of the Dead is drawn, because that would give him...
Field's on the table.
Oh, sorry. Well, it matters a lot for Field of the Dead.
Yeah.
So now he actually does have 6 lands, so if he draws any land that is not something that's already on the battlefield, it should be good to go.
Batterskull actually put in by Sasser. It goes his turn, casts Oko. Oh no. Primeval Titan's a 3/3.
Yeah, Oko? Oh no. Now, he needs a flying creature to be able to get over the zombies, assuming Dilks is able to start generating some of those next turn. Though I believe Dilks is on E. Needs to find a bounce land. Any bounce land off the top here that's not Golgari Rot Farm allows him to start making 3 zombies a turn. That's a pretty big deal.
Ships for 5, Dilks to 14, Sasser to 22. Back over to Matthew Dilks. Can he get out of this? We saw a timely Beast Within the last game, but now he's got a 3/3 Elk, not a Primeval Titan, and he's still facing down that Ashiok. Just a draw and a go. Drake Sasser finally hits that 3rd land drop. It's Field of Ruin. That means that he can make that sort of Feast and Famine and hook that up this turn.
I think Drake's about to get absolutely dumpstered. He's putting in a sort of Feast and Famine. He's going to equip it to the Germ token, and I am willing to bet Dilks has something here.
Germ is equipped. Here is an attack. That's for 7 with Exalted. That's half of Dilks' life total, and players are reaching for their pens.
Never mind.
Dilks just got gunk.
The game's over the other way.
Summoner's Pact discarded. That one pretty bad against Ashiok as well. Dilks to 7, Sasser to 29. Sasser untaps his lands.
I just assumed that with 3 or 4 cards in hand and a pass with 7 mana, it had to be Beast Within, right? Had to be. Turns out
that
it's all Summoner's Pact.
Sasser has some cards that just invalidate cards in Dilks' deck, and
oh, great.
That's what we're looking at. Ashiok, the 2019 equivalent of Blood Moon.
Love it.
Sasser taking a look at the lands that Dilks has. Going to use Field of Ruin. I think we're in draw step here.
Now, this is a weird interaction because Ashiok shuts off searching, but it doesn't shut off searching for cards that you use against your opponent. Unlike something like Leonin Arbiter, this Field of Ruin, if it does kill Field of the Dead, will allow Dilks to search up a forest.
So Field of Ruin on Field of the Dead. As you mentioned, both players finding lands. Snow-covered forest for Dilks, island for Sasser.
It's a reasonable play. I think the zombies are one of the ways that Dilks can get out of this, but with him unable to search, I cannot imagine that Drake's going to do anything next turn except attack for 7, and that should be good. You know?
Looks lethal from here.
All right, we go back Sasser's way unless Dilks has an effect here during the end step. Oh, this was during draw step. Excuse me. So, see, I thought it was just a passing of the turn. That's why I thought, well, we're all done here.
Looks like Boros Garrison picks something up, replays it with the Sousa. One of the other cards was Castle Garenbrig. There's one I could not see from Dilks, but it has to be a nice one to stop this lethal attack. And it's just a handshake. Drake Sasser advances to 12-1. For Matthew Dilks, a fall to 10-3. This was a pair down. Sasser, of course, kind of pacing the field right now. For Sasser, looking very promising to make the top 8 here in Knoxville. For Matthew Dilks, he has some work to do.
Yeah.